I'm 76, and there's a question people learn not to ask outright, but it hangs in the air every time they see you sitting by yourself. You can see it in their eyes. Aren't you lonely? So, at 72, I decided to answer that unspoken question. I let my granddaughter set me up on a date. Her friend's grandfather, Robert, a nice man, a retired teacher. He's so interesting, Nana. You'll have so much to talk about. And for a while, we did. My husband, Jack, was a quiet man. We didn't need to fill the air. When he died 5 years ago, the silence he left was profound. It wasn't empty at first, it was aching. I'd set the table for 2 out of habit. I'd hear his laugh in the creak of the porch swing. But time does its work. That aching silence, it changed. It became a space I could move into. I started gardening again. Not just the roses he loved, but messy, sprawling vegetable patches. I got a dog, a scrappy little rescue who follows me from room to room. I joined a Thursday night memoir writing group at the library. We read pieces about first loves and old regrets, and we drink terrible coffee. It's wonderful. My life became a collection of small, sacred rituals. The first sip of morning tea on the porch, the feel of soil under my nails, the sound of my pen scratching in a notebook. It wasn't the life I'd had, it was the life I'd built. But my family, they saw a puzzle with a missing piece. They saw solitude and assumed it was subtraction. Robert reads history, they'd say. You love your little history documentaries. They meant well. They love me. And slowly I started to doubt my own contentment. Maybe this peace was just resignation. Maybe I was hiding. So I said yes to Robert. The beginning was charming. He brought me books. We discussed documentaries over perfectly pleasant dinners. He called me remarkable. And for a woman of 72 to be seen like that, it's a potent thing. But charm is a surface, and soon I began to feel the undertow. My Thursday nights were the first to go. A writing group, he'd said, smiling. How quaint. But the new exhibit at the museum is members only tonight. It's a special chance. How do you say no to a special chance for quaint? I canceled on the group. Then it was the dog walks. He'd want to come. My 45 minutes of quiet, just me and the rustling leaves and the dog's happy snuffling, became a 90-minute debate about local politics or the best route to take. My solitude was being narrated, opinionated on. He never yelled, he was never cruel, he was just present. A constant low-level demand on my attention, my time, my energy, which at this age is a finite currency. I began to audit my own energy reserves like an accountant. If I have dinner Tuesday, I will need Wednesday to recover. Can I afford the garden tour on Saturday? The financial calculus was the quietest, most shameful part. On a fixed income, going Dutch on $60 meals adds up. Driving across town twice a week, birthday presents for his extended family, a weekend getaway that cost me half a month's grocery budget. I'd lie awake, not thinking of his hand on mine, but calculating the interest I wasn't earning on my dwindling savings. The breaking point was subtle. It was a Sunday morning. He was coming over at 11. My ritual was to sit in the sunroom from 9 to 10:30 with the newspaper and a second cup of tea in total silence, just me and the light. That morning at 9:05, I found myself rushing, tidying cushions, prepping the coffee maker for his preference, mentally preparing for topics of conversation. I was anxiously performing for a guest in my own home 2 hours before he'd even arrive. I looked at the beautiful, silent sunroom. I looked at the clock, and I knew. I ended it that week. He was bewildered. What did I do? And I told him the truth. You didn't do anything wrong. You just wanted a companion. And I have discovered I already am one to myself. Here is what I learned in the years since, in the glorious reclaiming silence. Loneliness and solitude are not synonyms. Loneliness is the absence of connection. Solitude is the presence of yourself. With Robert, I was connected, but I was absent. I was the loneliest I've ever been because I was disappearing. Society sells companionship to seniors like it's a cure for a disease, the disease of being alone. But what if it's not a disease? What if it's a habitat? Some of us are built for the quiet, spacious landscapes of our own company. Forcing a partner into that habitat doesn't fill it, it crowds it. It stresses the native species, your hobbies, your rhythms, your peace. At 76, my body is a delicate instrument. Stress gives me migraines. Lost sleep ruins my week. My happiness isn't a frivolous wish anymore. It's a physiological requirement. Companionship that costs you your peace is an expense you cannot afford. To anyone watching this, whether you're 30 or 80, if you are in a relationship that makes you feel guilty for wanting space, that makes you smaller, that you endure more than you enjoy, you have permission to leave. You are allowed to choose your own well-being. And if you are alone and the world is whispering or shouting that you are missing out, ask yourself, are you lonely, or are you just unaccompanied? There's a world of difference. I built a life, piece by careful piece after loss. It is a life of early mornings with my dog, of messy gardens, of terrible coffee and wonderful stories with friends. It is a life where I decide every single day what holds value. I'm 76. I live alone. I answer to no one. My time, my energy, and my silence are my own. And I am not just content, I am rich with peace. That isn't a consolation prize, it's the victory.